Welcome everyone to this live stream on Gambling Disorder Screening Day. For those of you who aren't aware, March every year is Problem Gambling Awareness Month. And every year, one day in March is Gambling Disorder Screening Day. So that is what we will be talking about today. Gambling Disorder Screening Day this year is March 9th, and we will be covering all the ins and outs of what that means and where to find them and how to host a screening day, how to participate in a screening. And I'm your host, Tana Russell, the Assistant Director with the Evergreen Council on Problem Gambling. And I have the honor to be joined today by Kira and Debbie with the Cambridge Health Alliance Division on Addiction. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
So, Debbie, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your work there?
Sure. My name is Debbie LaPlante, and I'm the director of the Division on Addiction. As Tana mentioned, we're affiliated with the Cambridge Health Alliance, which is a community-based hospital. And we're also a teaching hospital of the Harvard Medical School. I've been involved with gambling research and addiction research kind of more generally since 2001. So I've been thinking about these questions for a long time. And I've been involved with Screening Day for about 7 years now. We're very happy to have a chance to talk with you about this and to share some of the things that we're doing.
Thank you. And Kira, can we get to know you a little bit better?
Sure. First of all, I apologize for my setup. Had some issues getting into the link with the firewall, so I am on my phone. So bear with me.
Tech issues happen these days.
And yep. Trying our best to be as flexible as possible. I am a community health educator at the Division on Addiction. I've been here for about a year now. So this is my second Gambling Disorder Screening Day and the first one that I've kind of taken the lead on. And I'm really excited to be here and talk with you all today about this great event that we're doing.
Excellent. Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about how Gambling Disorder Screening Day started? What's the history behind it?
Sure. So as many of you know, gambling disorder leads to financial, emotional, social, occupational, and physical harms. But unfortunately, many cases of gambling disorder go undetected, in part due to limited assessment for this problem. So as a result, very few people experiencing problem gambling and gambling disorder actually receive treatment. Now, screening is vital to detecting problem gambling, and it's actually the first step of the treatment process because the provider needs to identify that somebody is experiencing problem gambling before they can take the steps to address it. So the Division on Addiction recognized that gambling disorder often goes undetected, and to really address this imperative to detect problem gambling as early as possible, we established Gambling Disorder Screening Day in 2014. So a little bit more about Screening Day. It's a one-day event held annually on the second Tuesday of March, as you said, during Problem Gambling Awareness Month. So this year, Screening Day is on March 9th. And what that really means is just any provider or patient-facing individual who would like to participate simply screens their clients for gambling disorder on Screening Day. So as such, Gambling Disorder Screening Day is really designed to encourage and support providers to screen their clients for gambling disorder in order to identify individuals who may be experiencing gambling-related harms who should seek further assessment. But this event is also about spreading awareness and education about gambling disorder to gamblers, gambler providers, treatment providers, and other stakeholders. And then hopefully it will help people who are gambling more than they want to or in a way that is harming them to take the first step towards recognizing the issue and considering some next steps. So we're really 8th annual Screening Day, and since it's began, it's just grown into this international grassroots event. We have screeners and supporters from our own organization, Cambridge Health Alliance, Massachusetts, New England, all across the United States, and even internationally. So it's really become a really great large event with a lot of support globally, and we're really excited to see how it continues to grow.
Excellent. Well, thank you for all of your work putting this together, getting the awareness out there. It's just really, really important. And I want to talk for a second about what a screening is and isn't, right? Because a lot of times people might see a gambling screen and be hesitant thinking they're about to sign up for something, right? And it's really very, very simple, right? So if you go to your primary care provider, when you're filling out the initial paperwork, you're answering questions about your family medical history, and you're going to do a lot of screenings about tobacco and alcohol and sexual activity and these kinds of things. A gambling disorder screening is just the same. It's just a few questions. The question topic is just about gambling, as opposed to tobacco or alcohol or medical history. It doesn't sign anybody up for anything unless they want to. So it's very, very simple and doesn't need a provider. And you all have on your website an eScreener, which I can actually share this with folks. Rob is behind the scenes, as always, on our live events, and he can pull up my screen sharing ability here, and I'll show everyone your website here. So on their website for Gambling Disorder Screening Day, they have some information about it and a link to resources. And one of those is this BBGS, which stands for the Brief Biosocial Gambling Screen. It's an eScreener, and this is just one example of how simple a gambling disorder screen can be. Really, really simple. And they have here a few different options. I'm going to select the eScreener option, and here it is. That's it. So if I'm answering this, and I'm just going to put some answers in here that I have some concerns, right? That my gambling is maybe not what I really was hoping it would be, right? Maybe I'm gambling a little bit more than I thought. I'm finding that it's kind of difficult to cut down or stop. And yeah, maybe I'm ready to kind of cut back some. So I answer those and I submit, and then that's it. And then I can get help for, and this is what's really cool that I love that you guys have done on this, is there's helpline information all over the world here. And so I'm in the US, so I'd select that, and there we go. There's a helpline for me right there. So can you guys tell me a little bit about who sees this, right? So I just put my answers into this screening. Is there anybody that knows that it was me that did that or that is going to see it?
Yeah, absolutely not. We don't see that. We don't review that information, and we don't retain that information. That information is gone once you leave the website. So if you perform that screen, you answer in a particular way, the gambling questions, the readiness ruler questions, you'll get some recommendations. If you come back, you'll see that it's blank. You'll have to do it again. It's not something that's retained or checked or anything like that.
So if I wanted to keep these questions, it would just be up to me to maybe print this page or take a screenshot or something, but it's not going to get stored anywhere. So
yes, absolutely. And one other thing that I wanted to add to your discussion of what a screening is and what a screening is not. It isn't signing you up for something like you mentioned, but I also want to emphasize that it's not a diagnosis. So I don't want people to come onto the screen and answer the questions, and if they do get kind of a positive screen, to think that they necessarily have full-blown gambling disorder. Really what the screen is intended to do is it's intended to ask you to kind of take a pause and reflect, to ask yourself some more questions, or to find someone who can help you ask the right questions to determine whether or not you have a problem that kind of needs more attention.
Correct. I'm glad you pointed that out. And when I submitted my answers, it takes me to this page that lets me know that answering yes on these questions indicates that currently you are at increased risk for developing or experiencing gambling related problems, right? It's not giving me a diagnosis or anything like that. It's just giving me some feedback and then letting me decide what I want to do with that information.
Exactly.
Right. And so, for example, I am a certified gambling counselor in the state of Washington. So if an individual completed a gambling disorder screening, be it this one or another one, and they got a phone number for information, they call that number, they get connected to a certified gambling counselor who then would do a full assessment, right? The screening, as you mentioned, all it does is give the person a little bit of feedback so they kind of know if they should or shouldn't maybe be concerned, but they still have whatever decision they would like to make about how to respond with that information. Yes, and then it just says it'd be a good idea to see a professional to determine whether or not there is a problem. And I have had many, many people referred to me over the years, and that was kind of their path to getting to me. A screening somewhere indicated, and they followed up with it. And not everybody who ends up coming in for an assessment has a diagnosed gambling disorder. Some do not. Some something else was going on, or some other concerns. They might have started experiencing some problems, but with some good harm reduction, or some boundaries, or some time limit setting, some money limit setting, they're okay. And for others, it's a really good thing that they followed up on that because a gambling disorder had developed and they were feeling the effects of that and were able to get some help and put their lives back together successfully. Yes, so that is a big difference of what a screening can and can't do. It can't diagnose a person. It leaves it up to the person to decide if they do want to go on and get a deeper assessment to determine if a disorder is going on. And then there's different ways to approach a gambling disorder if one is present, right? There's different types of treatment that are available. There's support group meetings a person may want to try as well, which we could talk about for a minute. Some people are familiar with the 12-step model. There are 12-step groups for gambling, such as Gamblers Anonymous and Gam-Anon. There are other self-help resources and websites, gamblerinrecovery.com. There are gambling recovery podcasts and apps and self-help workbooks online, and there's just a lot of information that's available to people so that they can choose what's best for them.
And that's really what it's all about, right? It's giving people information and letting them make some choices about what they want, what they don't want, what they think will be helpful, what they don't think will be helpful, and just providing kind of a menu to people.
Exactly. And we have put the link in the chat for everyone, so you can go directly to this page that I'm sharing with you. And also, while we've got it shared, I'm going to pull up the Evergreen Council on Problem Gambling website as well. So if you are in Washington State, we're in Washington State. We're here to help individuals not only in our state, but beyond as well. I just want you to know this is here and available for you on the Problem Gambling Awareness Month page, and there's a screening day page here for you as well. So you can find all of these resources, a link to the Cambridge website, and the BBGS eScreener is on here, and we've got other PGAM resources for people. So there's just a lot. And Rob, we can probably stop sharing my screen now. I just want to make sure everybody knows they've got a lot of resources available for them. Are there any other resources while we're on it that come to mind for you all that you found helpful or refer people to?
Sure. We can talk about some of the resources that we have on our website. Kira, did you want to talk about our Toolkit resources?
Perfect.
Yes, and I apologize. I keep popping up and going back out, so bear with me. Hopefully I'm able to get through this. But Yeah, we thank you for talking about the BBGS and showing that. I think that's really helpful and kind of the central component of our toolkit. And I'm not sure if you mentioned, you might have while I was off, that it is available in 22 languages, which is really helpful. Helpful feature of the online version of that, but it's also printable. So whatever way your organization chooses to use it, it's pretty flexible. One thing that we did add this year that I want to kind of talk about, and I think it would be a good starting place if somebody is interested in using the toolkit, is we created a screening day guide for screeners. And this is a comprehensive guide that talks about how to prepare for and host a screening day event. It provides kind of a suggested rough timeline of how to host and how to prepare, and kind of weaves in various items in our toolkit to show how you can use those throughout your preparation. So I really suggest maybe checking that out if you're interested in participating. But I do want to make it clear that this is just one suggested way of participating, and it's pretty broad, and we kind of leave it up to the discretion of participating organizations to decide how to best logically integrate screening day into practice. And this is partly because there are so many different types of organizations that participate, ranging from mental health and addiction treatment providers to casinos. So we really try to have this comprehensive toolkit, but really leave it up to you to decide how best to implement that, with the idea that we want this to be as user-friendly as possible, and it's very flexible, and there's no right or wrong way to host a screening day event. So in addition to that, we have, as you mentioned, the BBGS. We also provide a lot of educational materials in our toolkit. So we have one-page summaries and videos that cover topics such as what is gambling disorder, how does gambling become an addiction, why screen for gambling disorder. We also provide access to free self-help toolkits and resources to help providers make referrals if needed. In addition, we link to educational materials about addiction more generally and other external resources that we think providers may find helpful. And we also provide free resources to help host an event, including a customizable screening day flyer. This is something that your organization can hang, in a waiting room if you want. You can send it out in an email just to let people know that you're screening and when. And we also offer BBGS pocket screeners. So these are about the size of business cards, and they have the BBGS in there and some hotline information. And we have those available. We can send up to 50 of those for any requesting organization at free of charge if that's something that anyone is interested in. And that's something just that you can hand out to people. You can keep it in your pocket, have it by you at all times to reference. So it's a pretty helpful tool. And for screening day, we don't ask anyone to register. All of these tools and resources are completely free. No one has to register to use them or sign up, but we do love to hear from people who participate. We love to hear feedback. We have a host data reporting form that helps us kind of see how many people you've screened and the results of those screens, which is really helpful for us to kind of see our reach and how that grows from year to year. And I think that pretty much covers it. There's a lot in there. I also want to just make note that you don't have to screen on screening day to use these resources. They're up all the time. They're always available. So even if you're seeing this in September, you can go check them out. You might find them useful. It is a screening day toolkit, but that does not mean that they have to be used specifically for screening day. A lot of them are can be used all throughout the year. So I would really recommend checking it out. And just one more point, that we really rely on feedback from everybody to grow and to expand from year to year. So we take feedback very seriously. We'd love to hear from people. If you have any recommendations or ideas for what would help you resource-wise to better support your screening efforts, we'd love to hear about that. So let us know. But we really do rely on all of the participating organizations to make this event what it is.
One thing to add to that I think is really important, especially for this year, given that we have the COVID-19 pandemic going on, is that even though Screening Day kind of historically has been an in-person event, it doesn't have to be in person. And if you look at our resources on our toolkit, you'll even find kind of a little informational piece there that talks about screening and Screening Day during the COVID-19 pandemic, which I think is a great addition, and people should check it out. And again, thanks for sharing the link to the EBBGS, which I think also is helpful during this time.
Excellent. And I'm just going to pull my screen up again for everyone to show them how they can access the toolkit. It's this button, this big blue one right in the middle, and it'll take you directly to all of these great resources. And should anyone have questions, what is a good email for a contact email?
Right down there at the bottom, you can see info@divisiononaddiction.org.
Sure.
There we go.
Kara might be having some connection issues again.
Some connection issues, but we will make sure to share all the links in the chat for everyone for all of these. And in Washington State, like Kira mentioned, because of the pandemic, hosting a Screening Day location may have some extra challenges with it this year, right? Some facilities just maybe aren't set up to have an influx of a large number of people while accommodating social distancing and things like that. So we do have on our website a place to add any locations where people do want to advertise that they are doing a Screening Day location. Let us know, we can add it there. And with that, let's talk a little bit about approaches to host a Screening Day. And if you guys have received some interesting feedback over the years from individuals around the country, I'd be interested to hear it. And I can share some ways that I've heard that Screening Days have been done as well. And Rob, we can pull my screen down now. So Kira mentioned it may happen at a mental health or substance use disorder facility. That's quite common. There's a number of different ways people may do that. The whole idea is simply to make screens available, right? So that anybody who wants one doesn't have to work very hard to find it or to get the help. That's the main idea, is just to make help easily accessible. And different approaches that can be done for that might simply be to put some screenings in the lobby. Some people may want to just take them home. It might not even be for themselves. It might be for someone else that they know, so they just want to take it and take it home with them. It might be to have someone come and talk to people, at least to offer and say, hey, here's a screening for you. Did you just want to take it and run, or did you want to chat for a minute? Because a person may have some questions. And so just opening the door to have a conversation, if they would like to, is a really great idea because they may be interested in finding out about what services are available. They may have concerns that they'd like to share or concerns about someone else. So it's a really good idea to open that door for a conversation if a person would like to talk about it. These can be done at medical clinics, primary care clinics, emergency rooms, any kind of medical facility. These work really well to make available to individuals. Gambling disorder does co-occur with a lot of health conditions. It's not uncommon for people to be experiencing medical problems and see a doctor about gambling-related problems long before they're ever going to see a counselor or therapist, because it's causing sleep deprivation or interfering with their medication regimen, or anxiety, depression, headaches, digestive issues. It can cause a lot of health issues that may be a primary concern. So integrating them into medical clinics is a really good idea. I have hosted a Screening Day at a facility that provided services to homeless, and it was simply making screens available and being present for questions. easy peasy, right? And again, sometimes it's just letting people walk off with them because they just want to, look at it with some privacy, and sometimes they want to talk. Doesn't matter to me. I'm happy to talk with anybody. I've known people who have set up a screening day location in their local casino. The casino leadership staff was very on board and welcoming. They were very invested in customer service and good customer care. So they really liked the idea of having someone come in, making these available so that anybody that might be worried about some concerns can get help. And this really is good customer service on the part of gaming facilities. Keep in mind that when a person does develop a gambling disorder, they likely will stop gambling entirely. They will not be a customer anymore. If they can get some good guidance or feedback early on and be able to gamble in a way that's recreational and responsible and not causing them any problems, or put some harm reduction in place, and they can continue to do so in a way that adds positive to their life. I've known of people who have done it at colleges, universities. Trying to think of other places people have done screening days that I've heard of. That's kind of the common ones.
We've had some of those very same experiences over with our partners as well. Definitely college campuses and mental health settings. We also have had some partners in the VA setting, running screenings there. At casino sites in Massachusetts, we have a couple of new casinos, and the Mass Council on Compulsive Gambling, through their Game Sense information centers, usually host some screening events every year. Correctional institutes, we've had some partners do some screenings in corrections settings.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I have worked with several people who had expressed that they didn't start gambling until they were incarcerated.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it became a problem. It does go on in incarceration facilities quite a bit. And so it's a really, really good idea to make that available to people. I was going to mention a little bit about some screening best practices, because a primary level would simply be making screens available like online, like the eScreener. I can go on myself, fill it out myself, and see what I want with that information. A little step up from that might be to have them available in a non-behavioral health setting, right? Where they're providing some other service, be it a gaming facility or a primary care clinic, etc., but they are making screens available, promoting awareness, want to help people if they can, and so they're going to make these available, make sure that helpline and information is easy to find so they can refer people as they need. Then there's also, the behavioral health clinics that can do a little bit better than that by having a live person present and on hand to open that door to have a conversation. Hey, did you have any questions about this? Did you have any concerns you wanted to talk about real quick? Just opening the door for the conversation. And then there's individuals who are the therapists, counselors, mental health counselors, substance use disorder counselors, gambling counselors, etc., that are able to do even a little bit more conversation about it, right? And do a little bit of education about what's responsible gambling, what are some things that are worth being concerned over, conversations about what treatment looks like, etc., to really dig a little bit deeper into what is available for that person, because they might be where that person is getting referred to. it's ideal to be able to have a live person present and available for those conversations so that the person doesn't then have to call another phone number or go hunt something else down to find that help. If the live person's available, that's fantastic. Not necessary, but great. And it's also a good idea to define what is meant by gambling, because everybody thinks of gambling a little bit differently. And so if you are the one who is doing a screening, and this is maybe done in a verbal way, it's important to define, when I ask you about gambling, I mean gambling games inside casinos, be it poker or card games, dice games, also bingo, lottery, scratch off tickets, games with family members or friends where wagers are made, sports betting. Just have a little list of examples so people know. Many people don't see lottery as gambling, but it is. And it can be problematic for some people. So that's just a couple easy tips I wanted to share, that it's important, if you can, to have a live person present if possible, and to define what is meant by gambling if possible. That can really be more helpful to people that may be dealing with some concerns. And did either of you have anything you'd like to add on this subject?
No, I think that that's absolutely good advice, especially your suggestion about kind of discussing what is gambling. So many people, like you said, have different notions about what it is and what it isn't. And a lot of people tend to kind of exclude things from their definition of gambling that actually are gambling. So it's important to have that conversation to make sure that everybody is all on the same page before you start talking in more detail about what problems someone might be experiencing or not.
It's true. And every person is different. For one person, one type of gambling is problematic and harmful, and another type of gambling is not. And for another person, it's opposite. So it varies person to person. And as a provider who is providing screenings, it's important to not make any assumptions about which types of gambling might be harmful or not. They all can be in different ways. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much for joining us. I just want to remind everyone that we are showering you with resources so that you have everything that you need to make screens easily available. And I also just want to reiterate that while Screening Day is a really great day to launch awareness of this, it goes on all year. We really want people to, if this is new to you, to making screens available, great. Thank you for jumping on board. And for the rest of the year, just continue to make them available for individuals.
Absolutely. That's a great success story. Those organizations and individuals that keep it going all the time, are going to be reaching out and helping people, in ways that they hadn't before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you all. I appreciate you joining us, and thank you everyone who's tuned in.
Thank you for having us.